A decision many saw coming, but one that still seemed to stun us all. President Biden says he has run his last race.
He dropped out and will not run for re-election.
It's crazy because I've been hearing rumblings.
I think everybody should be open to anything.
Joe Biden, a one-term president, a Democratic Party looking for a new leader.
This is very much uncharted territory here for us.
50 years in office will end with colleagues forcing Biden out the door. The chorus of lawmakers telling him to step aside finally got too loud.
I'm just very hopeful that this torch is passed to a new generation.
A new generation that Kamala Harris hopes to lead. The vice president has Biden's endorsement.
What her nomination would mean for HBCUs, expert insight, and reaction from around the triad. Tonight on WFMY News 2 at 11. Less than a month before its convention, the Democratic Party does not know who its nominee will be. A social media statement from President Biden today sent the party searching for a new leader. Good evening, I'm Chad Silber.
And I'm Denise Bickmiller. For weeks, doubts trickled in about President Biden's future in the upcoming election. Despite that, his decision to drop out still seemed to shock many people today.
A part of his lengthy statement today read, "It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. Let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you have placed in me."
Biden says he plans to address the country later this week to discuss the decision in greater detail. And when he walks away in January, Biden will close more than 50 years of public service. And he first got elected in the U.S. Senate representing Delaware in 1972. Biden held that seat until he won the vice presidency with President Barack Obama in 2008. He briefly stepped away from public office during former President Donald Trump's first term. He returned to government life when he won the 2020 presidential election.
Former President Trump is also reacting tonight. In a statement he wrote, "Joe Biden was not fit to run for president and is certainly not fit to serve and never was. We will suffer greatly because of his presidency, but we will remedy the damage he has done very quickly."
And Trump will soon be in our state. He has a campaign stop planned in Charlotte this Wednesday. The former president held his first rally yesterday since last week's assassination attempt. It was his first campaign event with running mate U.S. Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio. Former and current Democratic lawmakers weighed in about Biden's decision and the future of the race. They each made sure to thank Biden for his years of service.
Starting with Biden's former running mate, former President Barack Obama. He said, quote, "Joe Biden has been one of America's most consequential presidents, as well as a dear friend and partner to me." Later in his statement, he mentioned the uncharted waters in the days ahead, saying, quote, "I have extraordinary confidence that the leaders of our party will be able to create a process from which an outstanding nominee emerges." The Clintons released a joint statement saying, "By any measure, he has advanced our founder's charge to build a more perfect union and his own stated goal of restoring the soul of our nation." They also backed his decision to support Vice President Harris as the next presidential nominee, saying, "We will do whatever we can to support her." Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi sharing her gratitude for Biden, saying, quote, "His legacy of vision, values, and leadership make him one of the most consequential presidents in American history."
And neither former President Obama nor former Speaker Pelosi endorsed Harris.
We also got some reaction today from people who live here, and there were mixed reactions.
I was surprised to see that Biden had stepped down, and in a way I was not. I think with the debate, it was best, and a lot of people in the Democratic Party thought that he should.
Historical. It's really a milestone for our community or Black community. And for women as well, too, for that to be, a potential candidate.
Whether that makes her, a good choice to vote for, I don't know, but I think Joe Biden should have stepped down quite a while ago because he's just so old.
Today's development caps a tumultuous several weeks for President Biden. The concern about his age really ramped up after his performance at last month's debate.
And Biden struggled throughout the night. He later said he was worn down from his campaign and was getting over a cold. A week later, he held a high-stakes primetime news conference. He defended his record and insisted he would stay in the race. The calls to drop out kept growing. A recent Associated Press poll found that 2/3 of Democrats wanted Biden to step aside. Last week, Biden had to step away from the campaign trail after getting COVID.
Endorsements from lawmakers around the country have rolled in for Vice President Harris tonight. Her spot on the top of the ticket is still far from a lock.
The DNC must still formally nominate her. The process for that still isn't entirely clear. Harris is already very familiar with the people of our state. She has made 7 campaign stops so far this year. She spoke at Dudley High School in Greensboro about a week and a half ago. Harris also spoke in Fayetteville just a few days ago.
Harris would become the first black woman to become the presidential nominee for a major political party. She tried to get the nomination in 2020, but eventually dropped out and endorsed Biden. Harris's time in office goes back 2 decades. She got her feet wet in politics back in 2004 when she became the district attorney in San Francisco. Harris used that to vault herself to the California Attorney General's office in 2011. She then represented California in the U.S. Senate starting in 2017. She left in the middle of her term when she got elected vice president.
And before she held any office, she graduated from Howard University in Washington, D.C. She would become the first president to ever graduate from a historically black college and university, better known as an HBCU.
At WFMY News 2's Giselle Thomas spoke to students at local HBCUs about the potential significance.
As an HBCU graduate myself from Florida A&M University, there's a pride that comes with knowing your history and connecting with your community. I spoke with 2 HBCU students who tell me that word of Vice President Kamala Harris, a black woman presidential candidate with roots from an HBCU, is inspiring.
Transformative. One of my favorite sayings is like, you can't be what you can't see.
In less than a year, Charles Anthony Woodfork got to meet Vice President Harris twice. Once during her HBCU college tour, and again during a Black History Month reception at the White House. Woodfork tells me he's admired her ever since.
A black woman who is a product of an HBCU, and for me, who's also from the Bay Area, there's just so many levels to, so many parallels to how important it is to me.
This year is his first time voting in a presidential election. Woodfork says he's looking forward to exercising his right as an American. The news brought Daria Bonds back to her graduation in May from Winston-Salem State. The VP sent a surprise video message to the ceremony.
For me to see President Kamala Harris pop up on that screen, it was a moment of awe, really. I was overwhelmed with emotion.
Bonds says she plans to vote for the candidate who puts the workforce first.
It's looking onward to say, okay, what does this look like for me getting loans? What does this look like for my long-term education status? What does this look like for my peers around me? And what does this also look like for my future patients?
Both students tell me they are appreciative of the work VP Harris has done for HBCUs across the country.
Giselle, thank you. The North Carolina DNC delegates held an emergency meeting tonight. They unanimously endorsed Harris for the nomination.
And one of those delegates is Guilford County State House Representative Pricey Harrison. She told me the DNC has a virtual roll call meeting planned in the next 2 weeks. What happens from there isn't clear.
We also heard from some of the top Democratic leaders from Guilford County about Biden dropping out of the race.
And I spoke to them about the decision and about Harris being the most likely candidate.
I'm proud of him. I'm proud of his legacy. And I very much appreciate this move he has made if he thinks that's the right thing. But there is so much to his legacy to be proud of. And hopefully that will be enough of a boost for him to think about his future years, because his legacy as a president has been, I think, unsurpassed by any recent president in modern history.
She's the right person for the job. She's prepared. As no one else has been side by side with Biden for the past almost 4 years. She has the background, and she's been traveling all around the world. So people know her. This will not be in one situation where we have to introduce people to her.
Biden's decision to drop out leaves a lot of questions about the Democratic ticket, both for president and vice president.
North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper's name has been floated as a possible running mate for Harris. We sent WFMY News 2's Kevin Kennedy to the governor's mansion to break down how Cooper could play a role in the race.
Good evening from Raleigh. What has been speculated for several days became reality earlier today when President Joe Biden officially dropped out of this year's presidential race. The president then wasted little time endorsing his vice president, Kamala Harris, to be the Democratic nomination for president. The Democratic convention is in Chicago in about 4 weeks. That's when the party will select their nomination. If Kamala Harris is selected, she could select North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper to be her running mate. Cooper is apparently on a short list of possibilities. The governor is well respected within the Democratic Party and has been a longtime supporter of the vice president. North Carolina is a key battleground state, and having Cooper on the ticket could certainly turn the Tar Heel state blue in November. Other options for vice president should Kamala Harris get the nomination: Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, and Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. The next 4 weeks leading up to the Democratic convention in Chicago will certainly be interesting as the Democrats try to regain a little bit of momentum they may have lost with today's announcement that the president was dropping out of the race. Time will tell if the man who has served us as governor for the past 8 years will be on the ticket as a vice presidential nomination. In Raleigh, Kevin Kennedy, WFMY News 2.
Kevin, thank you. Democrats at all levels of government are reacting to today's news and looking ahead to what's next. I spoke with the head of the Guilford County Democratic Party this afternoon about what changes for them between now and November.
Not a thing. We're already been out knocking doors, making phone calls, writing postcards. We've been doing that since April. The only thing that's going to change is the name on the ticket. Democrats are out to win this, and we've already been working toward that. So we now put our energies toward electing the next president, Kamala Harris.
I also talked with a local political science expert today about all these new developments. UNCG professor Tom Little says picking Governor Cooper could make a difference for Harris in our state.
Putting North Carolina in play, and that's some electoral votes that would be useful. Don't know if it would, that the Harris ticket could win North Carolina with him on the ticket, but it would make it much more competitive. So I think, and you have to realize Governor Cooper's never lost a statewide election.
And before she can pick a running mate, Harris needs the nomination herself. Little says he expects Democrats to rally around her.
Their number one goal is to win the election. And even if they believe she may not be the strongest candidate, whoever they chose, if they chose him in a contested, combative way, would be weakened. And I think they want to show unity behind whoever it is. And the easiest person to get unity behind right now is Kamala Harris, the vice president.
And as for the other side of the race, Little predicted where Republicans could target Harris to bolster former President Trump's standing.
Republicans will say she was not the party's choice. You know, she was just vice president. She had been very effective, they'll argue, as vice president. She was in charge of immigration, one of the policy areas that she was given by President Biden. Obviously, that has not gone the way Democrats have wanted.
And Biden's candidacy has seemingly been getting weaker for weeks. As of Thursday, there were 20 House Democrats calling for Biden to exit the race. A dozen others joined the call the very next day.
Some of Biden's family members also posted reactions to his decision today. His son Hunter releasing a statement saying in part that he's witnessed his father absorb the pain of everyday Americans. He says the president shared his personal number with people because he wanted to talk to them when they were hurting. Hunter says unconditional love has been his father's North Star as a president and a person.
First Lady Dr. Jill Biden shared a simple gesture of love and respect from moments after her husband shared his statement that he won't seek re-election. She shared his post with a simple heart emoji. And Biden's granddaughter Naomi also posted about her grandpa on social media. She wrote in part, "I'm nothing but proud today of my pop, our President Joe Biden, who has served our country with every bit of his soul and with unmatched distinction." She goes on to say, our world is better today in so many ways, thanks to him.
Reaction from leaders and everyday people has said it all. Today is truly unprecedented for our country. Expect a lot to unfold in the coming weeks.
And no matter what lawmakers you hear from, they all agree on one thing. They say this is the most important election of our lifetime. Now, whoever the Democrats nominate, that message is unlikely to change.
It makes it all more important to vote in November and to have a reliable source to keep you informed. You can count on us as your go-to place for anything related to what will be an historic election.